Just before we get into this video, guys, if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, the links are here. And if you also want to support me on Patreon as well and help out my channel, that would be absolutely awesome as well. But let's get on with the video. Hey guys, it is Wingy here and welcome to a brand new video talking about Star Wars, which I haven't actually done for quite a while now. So yeah, let's talk about Star Wars and where I think it's gone wrong. Or at least where it's gone wrong in this new Disney incarnation. And look, I'm not going to sit here and just bitch about these movies like they're the worst thing ever, because they're not. I don't even think some of these are the worst Star Wars movies, apart from Last Jedi. But what I will say is that the Star Wars brand, the Star Wars saga at the minute, is really not what it once was. And of course, this is all personal opinion. Some people might agree with me, and that's good. Other people might disagree with me, and that's also good. Everybody has their right to their own opinion, and this just happens to be mine. But for those of you who don't know, The Force Awakens, I actually quite liked as a film. A lot of its complaints I did address actually in my very first video, so if you want to go back and check that out, I mean I wouldn't, because a lot of it is irrelevant now, because after The Last Jedi came out, more or less everything I said isn't right. But hey, we learn, we change, we adapt. But I still think that overall Force Awakens is a decent movie, and I did like elements of Rogue One. To be fair, I did like elements of The Last Jedi as well. It's just overall I didn't think it was a very good movie. And I think The Last Jedi for me is the one that really put the spanner in the works. Now, I'm not going to bitch about the politics of The Last Jedi, because honestly to me, I mean, the politics of The Last Jedi are way down on my list of things that are wrong with that movie. So whilst I do take issue with some of the things in there, it's not even close to being one of the main reasons why it's a bad film in my opinion. The reason why I think Last Jedi really threw a spanner in the works is because it just took where The Force Awakens was building and then it subverted your expectations. Now there's a video, I can't remember who it's by, so I do apologise, but basically somebody did a video comparing The Last Jedi and Avengers Infinity War, and how both of those movies will subvert your expectations, except that Infinity War does it in a satisfying way, Last Jedi doesn't. So I would highly recommend going and checking out that video. If I can find out who it is, I will try and leave a link in the description below if you haven't seen that already, so it should be there. But basically it's that kind of thing. It tried to subvert your expectations, but it didn't do it in a way that worked. I didn't think it didn't really move the story along, or at least in a way where it looked like it was going to go. And that's, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, subverting expectations, because like I just mentioned, this video mentions how Infinity War does it, and it does it well. And there are countless examples of movies out there and TV shows where it does do that, and it does it to great success. But now, what it feels like is, especially with J.J. Abrams back on board, this next movie, Episode 9, to round out the entire saga, is just going to feel like a disjointed mess. This entire trilogy of movies isn't going to feel right. And obviously, this is me just assuming things. And you should never assume, because it makes an ass out of you and me. However, I can't help but be skeptical, because I think the majority of the stuff that Disney have put out has been crap, and it feels like the reason why they brought J.J. Abrams back in, the reason why they're bringing the Emperor back, the reason why they've shown clips of Carrie Fisher in the trailer is damage control. There was obviously, yeah, a lot of commercial success for The Last Jedi, and in terms of critic response, yeah, they all loved it. But in terms of the fans, the people who matter, it's a very divisive film. So that's The Last Jedi out of the way, more or less. I mean, I could have spoken about it a bit more, but I think everybody else on this entire platform has covered the ins and outs and everything that is wrong with The Last Jedi, so I'm not going to delve into it too much, but I just thought I'd add that little bit in. The next thing is that we haven't had a moment with all three of the original cast, which is Luke Skywalker, Han Solo and Princess Leia. And yes, okay, Chewbacca as well, don't forget the Wookiee. But I mean, the problem is with something like that, let's be fair, I don't care how much of a fan you are of Force Awakens and Solo and Rogue One and all of these latest movies, if you're a Star Wars fan, you want to see Luke, Han and Leia on screen together, with Chewbacca of course. And the fact that we haven't got that, and we're never going to get that, is a real shame. And I think it really casts a pretty dark shadow over the Disney movies, because that is a major cock-up. And especially in hindsight, with Carrie Fisher sadly passing away, they must look at that and think, fuck. Fuck. We really did balls that up. We could have done that, and maybe they were even planning to do it, but now they can't do it. I mean, obviously nobody was supposed to know that Carrie Fisher was going to die, and I'm not going to blame Carrie Fisher for dying, but it is one of those things. It is kind of like, oh, that's a that's a real shame. And look, I understand that you want to move forward with newer characters, with Rey, with Finn, with Poe, but at the end of the day, it hasn't really felt like the torch has been passed. And maybe seeing all of them on screen would have done that. Maybe it wouldn't have done. Who's to say? In fact, it probably would have had no difference whatsoever. It doesn't really feel like these characters have grown at all. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, Rey is definitely the new Luke Skywalker, Poe Dameron is definitely the new Han Solo. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really feel like that. It doesn't really feel like these characters have earned the right to be at the forefront of a Star Wars movie. And look, when Star Wars started, obviously Luke was this whiny, annoying kid, but you see over the course of these movies that he grows as a character. He makes mistakes, and he learns from those mistakes. So when you get to Return of the Jedi, Luke is just in control, and he's earned the right to be a Jedi like his father before him. Whereas in these movies it feels like, well, Rey's perfect and she's not really made any mistakes and she's not really learnt anything. In fact, Rey has actually been quite reckless, and yet there's been no consequences. Finn, I thought, would have had a beautiful moment where he'd earned the right to not be a coward anymore, and he would sacrifice his life and be brave for the Resistance. That didn't happen either. And Poe is just constantly undermined and barely appears in any of these movies anyway, so what's the point? Who cares? So to me, it doesn't really feel like there has been that transition. Solo was definitely not the best of ideas either. Thing is, nobody asked for Solo. Nobody cares about the Han Solo movie, really. It didn't need to happen, and some of the stuff that happens in it as well is just pure and utter bullshit. His name should just be Han Solo. He doesn't need it to be a nickname given to him by some knobhead in the Empire. Like, that is incredibly stupid. And the annoying thing is, because Solo did so badly, that means that Disney have now scrapped movies that fans probably did want to see, like a Boba Fett movie. I know we are getting The Mandalorian, but it's not quite the same. And also Obi-Wan as well. I would have loved to have seen Ewan McGregor come back, like this proper desert isolated movie, kind of like Logan but with Obi-Wan. How fucking awesome does that sound? Yep, nope, that ain't happening. I think the main word that I can think of to describe this entire thing with Disney and Kathleen Kennedy and the fan reaction and just the Solo movies, literally everything about Star Wars at the minute, or at least Disney Star Wars, is directionless. It doesn't feel like there's a clear goal to get from A to B. It doesn't feel like Episode 7, okay, that's what we're going to do here. Then in Episode 8, we're going to do this. Then in Episode 9, we're doing this. Everything feels reactionary. Everything feels like, we'll throw this out there and we'll see what people think. Now, I know that the original trilogy wasn't necessarily totally set in stone as it came out. But the difference is, George Lucas at least tried to link it somewhat together. He tried to make a cohesive story. And when you do watch the original trilogy, okay, there might be a couple of plot holes here and there, but overall you've got a consistent saga. You have got a clear beginning, a clear middle, and a clear end. With these movies, like I say, it could all change with Episode 9. I'm just a pessimist, apparently. Well, no, I knew that anyway. But it doesn't feel like anybody knows what they're actually doing. It's kind of like fucking Man United at the minute. I'm tempted to do a video on Man United as well if we're going to rant about things. Let me know if people want that. Anyway, back to Star Wars. It's such a shame because Episode 9 is coming out later on this year, I believe. And for the first time ever, I am probably not arsed about going to the cinema to watch a Star Wars movie. I really don't care at this point. And look, there's going to be some jumped up arseholes in the comments who are just going to be like, oh good, we don't want you there. But the thing is, I know that I'm not the only person that feels like this. I know people personally that feel like this. I've watched other people's videos about this. I've spoken to other people on Twitter and whatnot. I don't know how many people it is exactly, and I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the vast majority of us now hate Star Wars, because that's not true. But there is a significant amount of people out there, I'm sure, who feel the same way. And it is such a shame, because Star Wars should be an event. Star Wars should be the movie of the year. Yet, to me, it kind of feels like it's just going to tape off and just fade out into obscurity. I know that sounds mad because it's Star Wars, but I honestly feel that way. I honestly can't see how this next movie is going to change everything that has gone before. It could be a very good movie. It could probably be the greatest Star Wars movie ever. It could be one of the greatest movies ever, period. But I can't see how it can change what's come before. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. This isn't really a cohesive video. I've kind of rambled a bit, but I just kind of had this on my mind and I was just thinking about it, and I thought I would just get it out there and put it into a video and ask you guys what you think. Do you think Star Wars isn't going right at the minute? What would you do to change it? Where do you think it went wrong? Whatever it is, just let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Social media and Patreon links are in the description below, so if you would follow me on any of those things, I would absolutely love you forever. Why'd I say it like that? But until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.